Okay. See you, Ruvain.
Morning, Rabbi Green.
Good morning.
How you feeling?
Okay, Baruch Hashem.
Just too rainy and cold for you, huh?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
I don't blame you. I drove and it was too rainy and cold.
What happened to Mel this morning?
Mrs. Mel is not
Feeling well.
We have to do the rhyme. Mrs. Mel is not well. So they were trying to get a doctor's appointment for this morning. And she didn't want to go on her own. So dedicated husband that he is, he stayed home.
Okay. He could get on Zoom too. We got to teach him how to do that. Yeah. Learning sponsors, a year of learning, friends of Marcy Kurtz, in memory of her great niece, Leah Bracha, Isaac and Evelyn Blachor, in memory of his sister, Chaya Racha Bas Kisser, friends of Leonie Meiserman, Leah Sabra Bas Chanoch Zundel. We have 2 months of learning by the friends of Milton Meller in honor of his second bar mitzvah. Month of learning by Ron and Susan Podolsky in memory of his mother, Freil Bashraga Feivel, Phyllis and Chaim Reese in memory of her father, Pinchas ben Abraham, Rabbi Dr. Yankee and Malko Honig in memory of his sister, Chava Bas Harav Simcha ben Yamin, his brother Tzvi Aaron Zeb ben Harav Simcha ben Yamin, his father Harav Simcha ben Yamin ben Rav Yosef Yitzchak, his mother Sosha Bat Choinet, be Pizer in memory of her sister, Rivka Bas Avram Michal Halevi. We have a week of learning by the family of Danny Shepatovsky in memory of their father and grandfather, Daniel ben Aaron David, Marsha Fried and family in memory of Milton, Yitzchak Mordechai ben Abraham, Michael and Judith Paretsky in memory of a brother, Avram ben Gershon. Today is the 27th of the month. Right, and therefore
Last day to sell stocks for a loss.
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. Okay, no days of learning today.
I'm just pointing that out.
Oh, okay. I guess if you play the market, you know better.
You don't
Right?
have to play the market. If you have anything in the market, you have losses.
Yeah, this year.
And if you sell now and buy a similar stock in January, or wait till February to buy that stock back, you can get tax loss.
Assuming it's gonna go up again. You don't wanna have
No,
another
you-
loss the next year.
Theoretically, you can sell it for the 31st.
No,
You have to
you
close.
have to close.
You have to
You have to
close.
get the clearing.
I understand.
You can't sell it. I mean, you could report, you could.
Okay,
claim it,
Metive,
but that would
we'll
be a-
challenge that thought.
Oh, very good. Nice.
Okay, we are on Samach
First
Gimel.
word. Not going back. All right.
Samach Gimel, Amud Aleph, gentlemen. Meisive, right? So we're coming with a challenge. Ezohi Zmana Shel Rivia. What is the time period of the what we'll call the Rivia, which we're going to call for the moment a significant time of the
First word.
second rain. Right. So we have now, we're going to present the order of the different rainfalls associated with Eretz Yisrael. Okay. Habechira, which we're going to explain here as the first rain. Bishlosha. Okay, that's the third day of Mar Cheshvan. Okay. Beinonit, the middle rain. Bishiva, that's the 7th of Cheshvan. Afela, which is the last or the third rain, okay, in the season. Be'esrim b'shlosha, on the 23rd of the month. So so according to this view, which is Divrei Rabbi Meir, it is the 3rd, it is the 7th, and it is the 23rd of Cheshvan.
And only 4 days.
Okay. Okay, and the point that Michael is informing us is that if you say it's the sorry, if you say it's the 7th and then the 23rd, okay, how much time is there between that? Right, considerable, right?
Yeah, but the key is that the first. and
But the
second
first-
is only
But the
4
first and the second,
days. It's gonna
you
be
have
a
the
problem.
3rd and the 7th, there you only have 4 days.
That's gonna be a problem.
Okay, so what happens? Divrei Rabbi Meir, that was the view of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda Omer says as follows. Notice, B'Shiva, okay, so for him, the first rain starts not on the 3rd, but the 7th.
And he got wet. on the
Okay.
4th.
Okay, what happens? Then the second, B'Shiva Asar, on the 17th. And the third, Ube'esrim Shlosha. So he says 7, 17, and 23. So for him, the difference between the first and the second is 10 days, and the
Seven.
difference between the second and the third is 7 days. Okay, if I had it all written out, it would be easier to see that comparison, but keep it in mind. Okay, third example, Rabbi Yossi Omer, this is Rabbi Yossi. Okay, B'Shiv Asar, the first rain he claims is on the 17th. You could have a nice chart here. I don't know why Art Scroll didn't make a chart. They should have in this one, right?
They should have, you're right.
Right? And it would have been a good
They
chart
make charts for everything.
for everything. Why they didn't do this one, they should have. Okay, so Rabbi Yossi says the 17th would be the first one. Ube'esrimu shlosha, and the second would be the 23rd. So notice, by the way, we already see in some places they agree, in some places they
Well, but
disagree.
everybody likes the 23rd.
Okay, we'll see. Ubechodesh Kislev,
Rosh
and then, okay, and then the next one would be the beginning of Kislev. Okay, all right. So what happens? V'chein haya Rabbi Yossi Omer, and thus Rabbi Yossi would say, why is that important? Ein hayichidim, and we can translate hayichidim here as the distinguished or the learned people based on Gemara Tanis. Okay, mitanim ad sheyagia Rosh Chodesh Kislev. So his third date, okay, therefore implies it was, here he said B'chodesh Kislev, but now he tells us it's Rosh Chodesh Kislev. Well, and therefore, at that point, according to Gemara Tanis, if there was no rain, that's when these particular important religious, learned
Sets those
individuals,
minutes.
okay, would start having a fast. Okay, okay. They would
A
start
series of-
fasting, a series of fasts. Okay,
And then later, everybody.
right. Okay, that's, we
had
do
all
a
that.
whole, we hold it in Gemara. Okay, va'amrinan Allah, and we say on this, and as we discuss this in the base
Right.
medrash, okay, Bishlema Revi'i Rishon Alish. Oh, that's understandable why we would say the importance of the first date for the first rain, because that's when we begin to say Lishol, to add, say Tain Tal Umatar. Okay, Shlishit, the third date, in other words, the date of the third rainfall is important. Why? Because Lihitanot, because that's the occasion when we know the community, part of the community must begin fasting. Ela Shniya Laman, but rather the date of the second rainfall. Why is that significant or important? Particularly from a, if you want to say, a ritual point of view. Va'amar Rabbi Zera, and Rabbi Zera tries to give us an answer. Lin no dare, for when a person makes a vow. Okay, in other words, if they say, I will not do such and such or eat such and such, okay, until the, okay, so in other words, what does it mean when he said the rains come? Okay, apparently maybe he's not referring to the first, but maybe he's clearly referring to the rains being plural. It must be by the second set of rains. Okay. Va'amrinanala. And we discussed this and we said as follows. Kiman asla hadatanya, according to whom was the Tana who taught the following Braita. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, Gishamim. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says, when we're referring to the rains, Sheyerdu Shiva Yamim Ze Echar Ze. It must be that it is a situation where, when it says multiple rains, that there's a distinction of 7 days between one set and another set.
No. 7 continuous days of rain.
Okay, we can get to
I
that.
think that's why
That's what it
there's a
says.
problem. with
Okay,
the
we'll get to
mayor
that in
by
a second.
only 4 days.
We'll set to that. Okay, okay. So in other words, we have this 7 days. Okay, one wants to say continuous rain. One wants to say it's a period where we can count 7. Okay, atamone bahen revi'ah rishona ushniya. That therefore you can count from the first set of rains, second set. Come on, according to whom? Rabbi Yossi. It must be then according to Rabbi Yossi. Because remember, it was Rabbi Yossi, if we look back, who said one was the 17th, and then it came to the 23rd. Okay, which is 7 days, right? Okay, so therefore the Gemara continues, Hahu Amar ad ha geshamim. That's why when the person made the vow, they must have said until the rains, multiple rains. So that's why we could say that. Okay, let's go on to our new Mishnah. Mishnah tells us, Konem yayin shani to'em le-shana. Okay, I take a vow, making wine prohibited for me like a sacrifice if I taste it for the year. Nit abra hashana. Now, what happens? He's made that vow, and it was determined at some point that it was a leap year. Okay? Asur ba ubeibura. It says the Mishnah, he is prohibited in that year as well as the extended month. Okay? If he says in his vow, ad rosh adar, okay? If he says then, okay, that he's prohibited in that wine up till the beginning of Adar, and that at some point it was then declared a leap year after he made the vow, right? Ad Rosh Adar Harishon. We're saying, we're understanding that his intent was until the first Adar.
Because he didn't know about the second.
Okay, right? Or they hadn't declared it as a leap year yet. Okay? If he says in his vow, ad sof Adar, until the end of Adar, well, how do we understand it? Ad sof Adar Harishon, until the end of the first Adar. Okay? So that we, well, I'm going to go into that now. Okay, Gemara now picks up. Alma, therefore, what seems to imply as follows from this Mishnah, Stam Adar, when a person simply says Adar, okay, and I'm going to fill in here, and doesn't spell out which one he's referring to, the Ka'amar Rishonhu, that it would seem to imply that it's in a leap year, the first Adar. Lema Matnidin Rabbi Yehudahi. Let us say then that our Mishnah is according to Rabbi Yehuda. The Tanya, as Rabbi Yehuda might teach in a Braita, Adar Harishon, Kotev Adar Harishon, when he's doing a document and he must include a date, okay, in the month of Adar, if it's the first Adar, he must write Adar Rishon. Adar Sheni, if it's the second month of Adar, Kotev Adar Stam. In that month, in that case, he can simply write Adar. All right? Divrei Rabbi Meir. That's the view of Rabbi Meir. So just to pause for a moment here and ask ourselves the question, which month then does Rabbi Meir consider to be the leap month?
Don't go there.
Okay, that's the, okay,
But Reb Meir also holds that there's only really one
I know.
Adar, so don't go.
okay, all right. I'm just pointing out the kind of questions that could be. All
He
right,
just
let's,
totally disagrees with the Mishnah.
right, okay, let's go on. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, however, Rabbi Yehuda says, Adar Harishon Kotev Stam Adar. That in the recording of Rabbi Yehuda, when it's in a document reflecting dated for the first Adar, he writes simply Adar. Sheni, when it comes for the second Adar, Kotev Tiniain. Tiniain is the second, number 2. Okay, so from that, we might say that Rabbi Yehuda seems to follow the
He is
rule
author of our Mishnah.
that Adar, okay, that Adar 1 is the origin. Amar Abaye. Abaye says, Afilu Tema Rabbi Meir. You might even say that's true according to Rabbi Meir. Why? Ha, diada de me'abra shata. Because it's possible that Rabbi Meir is talking about a situation where they know in advance or earlier that it's going to be a leap year, and that
Do it
is
as early as
right,
right, Tishrei.
right.
Yeah, they know.
ha. And the other case, namely, is where, okay, we're saying that they did not know. Okay,
But agree,
yes, then.
if they noted that there may be a misunderstanding, why won't they all say that, oh, you can always write Adar Rishon or Adar Sheni?
Because normally you don't know it's gonna be a leap year. Most years are not leap years. So if you wrote Adar Rishon, somebody questioned maybe this star is from a year ago. In other words, that could be misleading, just as leaving it out could be misleading.
Yeah, but you can always put the year in also. Don't
But
put the-
they would put
No.
the year of the king. And there were issues about how you put the year,
All
in,
right,
but the month was never a
I'm
question.
thinking of this time, this was earlier time and there were issues on the year, on the dating.
Right,
Right.
right. That's what Michael is saying. In other words, there was a difference of opinion how to date the document in terms of the year, in terms of the month, but they may not, but it's possible that at times, okay, they could have announced the leap year
Yeah.
earlier. At other times, they
Done
waited,
during
they waited much later in the cycle of months.
I was thinking of current time, but there's no mistake on the year.
Well, that's because you got a real calendar.
But in those
You
days,
get
there
it
was
from your
problem.
local church. Yes, Al.
No, sometimes they could announce it as early as Tishrei. Other times, they didn't announce it until the end of Sivan. Where if, for example, the roads are extremely muddy, they would say, we gotta give it a chance to dry out so people could be Ola L'Regel, and they would announce it's a leap year and put in an extra Adar only 30 days before it happens, so that
Right.
it would give them a chance to clear up the roads and from the Behar winter. So if you wrote an IOU to me at Hanukkah time, that you'll pay the $10 you borrowed back in Adar, you wouldn't know there were going to be 2 Adars.
Right.
I didn't know it was that,
Flexible.
that they could determine it not to determine. I thought it was more set. No, they knew it was.
Not,
No, it was done al pi re'iyah. They wanted to make Nisan the first month of spring.
I understand why. It's done.
Okay, but they sometimes didn't decide until Adar Rishon started almost.
okay, Avi, it's a good question. What we have to remember is that, remember, it was the based in that had to make the decision based on visual testimony. Okay, and so not till much later, when I think it was Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya or Rabbi
No, Hillel Hashemi.
Hillel Hashemi, okay, who made a fixed calendar, that was some of that the issues. Okay. Okay, Vahat Tanya, but isn't it taught elsewhere in a Braita, as we're on Amud Beis, right? Ad Rosh Chodesh Adar, when one says, actually it says, when we
The
said
vow.
the vow was made until the Rosh Chodesh Adar, Ad Rosh Chodesh Adar Harishon, okay? Which is precisely the Braita saying exactly what our Mishnah said, okay? Im Haita Shana Me'uberet, and were it to have been a leap year, Ad Rosh Chodesh Adar Hasheni, then we would understand it until the beginning of the second Adar. Miklal, why? Because of the general principle, the Resha Lav B'Me'uberet Askinan. Does this mean then that the earlier part of our text was not discussing a leap year? Shmamina, and therefore we learn from this the following: Ha the pashita le de me'abra shata ha de lo yada. Here, when he explains it, that it was a situation of a leap year, it was an occasion where the person did not know yet that it was going to become a leap year. Okay. Now we get to our new Mishnah, and this new Mishnah continues with our theme, our motif of trying to determine the deadline by a time for the vow, but the problem is the time is not interpreted literally. Okay.
We learned half of this Mishnah in bits and pieces earlier.
Mhm. Okay, so what happens? Let's see. Okay, and with this Mishnah, we will go and finish the parak, by the way. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, says Rabbi Yehuda, Konem yayin she'ani to'em ad sheyehe hapesach. I make a vow that wine is going to be prohibited to me like a korban until the Passover.
And we learned earlier that
Okay, now just pointing out again, when we learned this part previously, we saw there was a difference of opinion. Did it mean until Passover, or did it mean the conclusion of Passover? Okay, so what happens? Lo nitkavein zeh ela ad leil haPesach. Okay, it would imply that the person's intent, okay, was not up till the prohibition should last until the evening of Passover. Ad sha'a shederech b'nei adam lishtot yayin, until the time when people normally would be drinking wine, with the 4 cups of wine at the Seder. Okay, so in other words, again, we come back to the issue of when a person makes the vow, we're trying to use local, common understanding of language. Okay, remember that's been our underlying motif throughout
even though
much,
he says sheyehi,
right? Throughout much of the Gemara. Okay, Amar. Okay, so what happens if he says in his vow, Konem basar she'ani to'em ad sheyehe hatzom? Okay, I make a vow that any meat is like a korban for me until the arrival of the fast day, and we're referring here, Hatzom must be referring to Yom Kippur. Okay, now we all know, right, that before Yom Kippur, we're supposed to have a special Suda Mafseket, which generally is to include fleishes. Exactly. Okay, so now we can continue. Eino asur ela ad leleit tzom shelo nekavein zeh ela ad sha'a shederech b'nei adam le'echol basar. That in other words, that the fast is, the prohibition is in force up till the time of the evening prior to the fast day, because that is the time when people customarily have meat to eat. Okay, right? Rabbi Yossi ben Omer and Rabbi Yossi, his son, okay, right, says as follows, giving another example. konem shum she'ani to'en ad shetehe Shabbat. I make a vow that garlic is forbidden to me, okay, like a sacrifice, okay, for me to taste it up till Shabbos. Now, what does it mean? Eino asur ela ad leilei Shabbat. In other words, it is only forbidden up to the eve of Shabbos, right? Shelo nitkavein zeh ela ad sha'ah shederech b'nei adam le'echol b'shum. Why? Because it's,
An aphrodisiac.
well, I wasn't
That's what the
aware.
Gemara said earlier.
Okay, I must have missed that section.
You can, that you eat garlic on Friday night because you have a mitzvah and this helps you perform. We learned that
I must have missed the shir
You
that
were,
day.
you were in Israel.
Okay, all right. Well, that's why I missed it. Okay, okay, because Avira de Eretz Yisrael Hakim. That's
So you
mine.
eat garlic.
Okay, what? No, but they ate a Mediterranean diet, Avi. Okay. All right, let's go on. Ha'omer lechavero, one who says to his neighbor. Look at this one.
We had this before.
I know. Konem she'ani nehanelach im ein at ba v'notel levanecha kur echad shel chitin u'shtei chavayot shel yayin. This one I remember. Okay, that I will not benefit from, make a vow, I won't benefit from you, like I said, right? If you do not come and bring, okay?
Now that's next. This is
Okay,
even on the
you provide, I'm going to rather phrase it, for my son a gift of, okay, 1 quart of wheat and 2 barrels or casks of wine. Harei ze yachol lahafor et nidro shelo al pi chacham. But one is able to nullify such a vow even without going to a sage. Why? Vayomer lo, because the person can say to the one who made the vow, Klum amarta ela mipnei kvodi, that the only reason you said that, okay, was to show some sort of respect or
Because you want to bring something
Okay.
with you when you come to eat.
to the point. Zehu kvodi, and the fact that I'm not prepared to accept a gift for you because I want you to come without a gift. Okay, that is enough honor for me. Okay. V'chein ha'omer lechavero, and likewise one who says to their neighbor, konem sha'at nehenedli, okay, im ein at ba v'noten levni kur shel chitin u'shtei chavayot shel yayin. Okay, again, a vow that one says that I won't benefit from you, okay, unless you come and bring, okay, the core of wheat and 2 casks of wine. Rabbi Meir Omer, according to Rabbi Meir, he says as follows: Asur ad sheyitain, that the neder, the vow, is in force until that
He
gift
shows up with
is
wine.
brought. Okay? V'chachamim omrim, but the sages say, af zeh yachol lahafer et nidro shelo al pi chacham. Even this one, in this situation, excuse me, is able to nullify the friend's vow, even without seeking out the nullification by a sage. Vayomerlo. Why? Because he can say to him as follows: Hare ani ki'ilu nitkabalti.
Let's pretend.
Okay, it's as if you brought it for me, because the fact that you're coming is enough of an honor. Okay, let's go on now. This is the one I like the best.
This one's great.
Okay, all right. Now, hayam misarev bo laseit bat achoto. What happens in a situation where the person is refusing to marry his sister's daughter, his niece? Got to keep in mind, remember that that was considered a very
Best man.
coveted kind of marriage. What?
Yeah, it's considered the best possible marriage. But the
Okay.
Hasidim, it's the brother's daughter.
Right.
This is the sister.
Okay, in any case, right? Va'amar, and therefore what happens? The person makes a vow under those circumstances. Konem shehin enatli leolam. I make a vow that she will never, ever benefit from me. Okay? V'chein hamigaresh et ishto. And likewise, we're saying it applies if someone makes a similar kind of vow vis-a-vis the woman he divorces.
But he hasn't, yeah, he's planning.
Right. Omer, he says, Konem ishti nehenetli leolam. And therefore will say to her, I make a vow that I will do not benefit from me ever. Hare elu mutarot leanot lo. They are, however, permitted to benefit from him in other ways. Shelo nitkaven zeh ele l'shum ishut. Because his intention was that you'd not benefit from me by my fulfilling the marital
obligations.
requirement. Okay? All right, I don't know which, okay, well, anyway, all right?
Use your imagination.
No, they are, one of them spelled it out, okay? Either Atskol or Koren, I don't know. Another example. Hayam misarev b'chavero sheyochal etzlo. We had this one also. Okay, it was a situation where one friend refused to eat by another. Amar, he says in that vow, Konem leveitecha she'ani nechnas. I make a vow forbidding me, like a sacrifice, to enter your house. Tipat sonein she'ani to'em lach. I won't even drink a glass of cold water in your house. Okay? What happens, says the Gemara? Mutar likanes leveito. It is permitted for him to enter the neighbor's house, v'lishtot mimenu tzone, and to drink from him cold water, shelo nitkaven zeh ele l'shum achila v'ushtiah, because the person's intent was that he would not have food or water in large quantities, but to have on a hot day a quick drink. All right.
You know, the friend is afraid you're gonna go overboard.
Right.
when-
Hadran alach konem yayin. Okay. And tomorrow we pick up with Perek Sheni.
Moving right along.
All right. Didn't even have to rush to get out there.
Oh, there's no class.
Oh, how come?
I don't know, he did it yesterday. at
Rucham?
11 or something.
Going away for
Yeah.
So he rescheduled, he did it yesterday at 11. Oh, he's finally getting married?